Hi, and welcome back to Plastic Models by a Regular Dude. And time to take a look at the Das Werk 1/35 scale Panther Ausf G late production Super Blitz kit by Tacom. Hi, and welcome back. And today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to do an inbox and build review all in one video. First off, what is a Super Blitz kit? Well, from what I can gather, it is a kit that has been manufactured in such a way as to make it a much simpler and quicker build. A lot of the detail is molded on, and there are plenty of, let's call them shortcuts, which I'll point out when we take a look at the instructions. I think the whole idea about this, behind this kit, is the fact that it is manufactured in such a way that you can get through the build quickly, which makes it good for a beginner since it has been simplified, or it just is geared toward a person that wants to get the kit built and get on with the part that they enjoy the most, which is painting and weathering. And there's lots of people like that out there. So first, let's start with a quick look at the box. It is kit number DW35041. Has this nice illustration on the box top. On this side, we have two examples of the marking options that are available. And then on this side, we have, oh, sorry about all the noise, illustration of the sprues that are included and the rest of the parts, upper and lower hulls, some photo etch, decals, etc. Now, one of the things about this kit, I can't remember if it's 108 pieces or 180 pieces, but there are not very many pieces, as is evidenced by the quantity of sprues in this box. So that's that. Let's take a look at the instructions and see what it has to show. All right, the instructions, same illustration on the front. On the back, it's a nice front-on view line drawing. Open it up. It's your typical applying decals, removing PE, photo or caution. Then we have the parts layout here, and as you can see, there are 6 sprues, the lower hull, upper hull, a metal barrel, copper cable, decals, and a small photo etch fret for the grill screens. So I'm not going to go in detail in all of these instructions. I am, however, going to point out certain details that make this different than most kits that are on the market. So first off, as you can see here on the wheels, let's zoom in, there are these little loops. So like all of this is one piece. All of this is one piece. All of this is one piece. So it just all slides on there, saves a lot of extra work, and just makes it easier and quicker to build. Another example, all of these torsion bar swing arms are all molded onto the hull. The only parts you have to glue on the hull are the final drives, and I guess these are final drive guards. And then these small, I think they're bump stops, so the front swing arms don't go too far. But all of that just makes building this thing really quick. As you can see, as illustrated here, the tracks are Lincoln length. Not a whole lot of parts going on here, nice long lengths, and then these parts here with the pre-molded sag already in it, here and here. So that makes it a lot easier to put the tracks together. We will talk about tracks later and how they go together. Backplate, not much to talk about there. A lot of parts have been molded in place, like these covers here, this large cover here, which oftentimes are separate parts. But what they've done is in a lot of areas on this kit, like the backplate, the upper hull, some of the turret parts, they have molded those in place because they don't really need to be separate pieces. Now, a lot of extra parts some people like, but as I said in the intro, some people just want to get through the build and get to the part they like, which is painting and weathering, and this facilitates that. Here we've got the toolboxes being glued on, the back plate. It's got a rudimentary engine that can go in there. I did not include mine because it is not visible at all. Then we get into the upper hull parts. Just, again, simplified stuff like this cleaning rod holder tube type thing is generally when in a normal kit, I say normal kit, just most kits out there of modern origin, this would be 4 pieces, 2 halves of this, and then 2 end caps. On this one, it's 1 solid piece here with 1 end cap. So they've reduced the amount of parts you need to glue on. Also, this right here, this part right here, oftentimes comes as a separate piece. It's not really necessary for it to be a separate piece, so it's been molded on. And the mold technology that companies have today, the molded on detail is so much better than it was in years past. So it's not really that big of a deal to have it molded onto the surface. Of the same, and another example is all of these spare tracks are molded as one piece. Now the nice thing about it is there are no visible ejector pin marks. So there's that. It's really nice. Just one piece, glue the whole rack on there, and you're good to go. Again, more stuff being glued on, you know, the spare tracks. The nice thing is the tools are separate, and because sometimes whenever companies cut corners, they will mold on the tools, and that can actually look pretty wonky. These are separate, and the tool clamps are pretty nicely detailed for styrene tool clamps. The handle loop part that you use to pop the clamp open, those are hollowed out and they're actually loops, so it's really nice. The grab handles on the hatches and engine hatch and other areas, very finely molded and easy to clean up, and they look the part. They're in scale, and you don't have to worry about making, you know, cutting flat bars off that some manufacturers mold in places like this to save parts and to save time. It's not like that, so you don't have to chop a piece off and use wire to make, you know, more realistic looking handles. So that's a nice inclusion. The track block here, the jack block, it's got nice wood grain detail molded into it, so once it's painted, weathered, washed, it'll actually look like wood. It'll have some texture to it. Putting the top and the bottom together, again, I'll talk about that in a little bit when we actually look at the kit. Then we get to the turret, and more of the same. Some parts molded on where they normally aren't, but the parts that are glued in place have very nice detail. Now, another time-saving option is this right here. These Episcope covers, armored covers, they are molded on this ring. So you just drop the whole ring in place, glue it all, let it set up, then all you have to do is just cut all of those sprue gates, toss the thing. If you have a really nice set of covers, you may not have much cleanup to do at all where the sprue gates were. Just another one of those time-saving measures. Let's see here. The mantlet and the rear of the turret, you have 2 options for the actual gun mantlet itself. There's the rounded version, and then there's the one that some people refer to as the chin version because the front of it hangs down, which eliminated a shot trap for projectiles. If a projectile came in low enough, it could deflect off the lower curvature of this mantlet here and go right through the driver's compartment. This helped eliminate that. And then here we have the gun barrel, the turret, the machine gun, all of that being assembled and finally put onto the vehicle, and the side skirts, which are all molded as one long piece. Now the nice thing is with this, you get a metal gun barrel. It's a styrene slide molded muzzle brake, so it still looks really good, but you don't have to worry about cleaning all the barrel because it's metal. No seams, no nothing. And then finally we get to the color, or the marking schemes. So we have 4 schemes here. We've got this hard edge camo, soft edge camo. Then we have this hard edge striped thing here and here, and all very nice schemes, all using basically the same colors. Now that brings me to another point. So this set of instructions has no color callouts at all. It doesn't give you recommendations as to what colors to use for these camo colors. It doesn't give you any recommendations or instructions on what smaller parts to paint, like the road wheels, guns, tools, handles, anything like that. There are no color callouts. All you have is this. So it pays to have a little bit of knowledge, or at least access to the interwebs or some books or whatever, so you can figure out what colors to use. Once you do that, use the paints of your choice and you're good to go. All right, and that's it for the instructions. So let's go ahead and take a look at the kit. All right, for the purposes of this look at the build kit, I'm going to remove the turret. And I'm just going to basically talk about things that I feel are worth pointing out. Now, I built this kit. I guess one of the things that Werk says can be done with their kits is it can be built very quickly. I read somewhere where some guy built his in like 3 hours, and I can believe that if you just sat down and just really got to it. Now, this would easily be a weekend kit. Build, paint, the whole shoot match, because there's just not a whole lot of parts, and the parts that there are go together really well, and they just fit, they work. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that I came across, again, that are worth mentioning. Okay, upper and lower hull, they fit together just fine. I did have to clamp a little bit on the front to make sure that this was all the way down, but all the parts fit nicely. There's not really any problems. Cleanup is very minimal. Normally what I do when I build an armor kit is I build, before I attach all the small stuff, I attach the upper hull to the lower hull. That way if I have to do any clamping, I don't have to worry about any small parts being in the way. I also leave the running gear off until after I paint, just so I can get painted underneath the sponsons and all of that without much trouble. I did decide, however, that I was going to go ahead and assemble the whole thing, because underneath there is not real crucial, because we've got side skirts that hang like this. So you're not going to see up underneath there, so I didn't feel it was as crucial as normal. So let's see. Let's talk about the running gear. So as you can see, these are all glued on, and they got these loops. Now there are the outer road wheels, which glue on afterwards. The instructions show to put all this together, then put those on. That'll make it easier for painting, because I can paint all this in the base color, and then the wheels that go on top, some of those are different colors as indicated in the color callouts, depending on which version is built. See, they're different colors, so it'll just make it a little bit easier to paint those. As far as it going together, everything went together fine. The tracks were pretty good, with the exception of the rear of the vehicle. Now that just happens to be where I ended, so that may be why it's at the rear, not at the front. I started right here because these have to be mounted in a particular place, this first curve strip right here. And then I just moved on around to here and stopped, and then here and met in the back. Now as you can see, this looks okay, but it's not actually supposed to have that much sag to it. Should be a little bit more taut right here. But as is always the case with link and length tracks, for me, it's always just about a half link off. It had about half a link in between before I put the last link in. So it was, you know, it was like a half link too much. And that is the one thing that I wish manufacturers would do, is give a little bit of play in the idler. The idler is where the track is tensioned on, as far as I know, just about all armored vehicles. There's some way to either pull this back, swing it back, forward, whatever, to keep the correct tension on the tracks. Now, Asuka, or Asuka, or however you pronounce it, Tosca, the Sherman tanks, they have that ability. And I'm sure there's other kits as well that have that ability to where you can put the idler in place and swing it up or back to get the proper amount of tension. It would have been nice if this had something like that as well, because it just, everything, all the stars, all the planets have to align in order for this to fit properly. And I did one side and ended up that way. As evidence here, I need to fix that kink right there. I just need to put some cement and kind of smooth that out. So I tried just a little bit different in the back and tried to really tighten up, you know, my joints, and still ended up with the same exact thing. And there's no adjustment on the idler to allow for that. Now, it's just one of those things that I wish, you know, manufacturers would include on their kits, but maybe someday. But in the end, no big deal. I was able to get this like this. If a person wanted to avoid that, or if they don't like link and length tracks, individual track link sets can be purchased, and you know, that way you'd have a little bit more control over the amount of sag on the tracks without having to end up doing weird things like this. But overall, it's not that big a deal. That was just really the only thing I ran into on this kit that was kind of, you know, not the best. Other than that, everything else went together great. Detail is good, nice and sharp, awesome. Now, there's this grill here that I lost. I don't know how I did it, but I lost it. It's gone. So on this particular kit, it was lost in combat. But anyway, that's the hull. It is all done. It is all ready for paint. Went together great. Now let's talk about the turret. Same thing, no problem. Now, one thing, on the chin type mantlet, there's a seam that runs across, and you can still see the discoloration of the plastic where that seam line was. It's nice and smooth now, you know, it's gone, so when I put paint on it, it won't be noticeable, but there is a seam there, so that needs to be taken care of. For some reason, the one that is fully curved doesn't have that seam. So just depending on whichever one you want to use, kind of determine how much work you do. Here's the metal barrel and the plastic, the styrene muzzle brake. Again, all the parts on here, the grab handles, very nice grab handle there. This machine gun mount, here's the machine gun, very nice. well detailed, one piece, and it looks plenty good. Very finely molded. Again, didn't really find any flash anywhere on the kit, and it just looks good. Some people may complain about the fact that the episcopes are the same color as the rest of the plastic. It's not clear, you know, no big deal. I mean, when it's sitting on the counter, you can't hardly see it anyway. Just one of those little things that some people may not like. Other than that, it all went together fine. No trouble whatsoever. So that's basically it for the assembly aspect of the kit. It just all turned out really nice. Went together well. It was an enjoyable build. I mean, and I'm telling you, it went together really quick. Now, one thing I do want to talk about, though, is one of the most appealing things about this kit, and that is cost. So oftentimes, when people are getting into armor kit building, they'll say, what kit should I start out with? I don't want to spend a whole lot of money and wreck something. It's my first one. Well, a lot of times, and rightly so, because I do the same exact thing, recommend one of the older Tamiya kits. Now, you could recommend other kits as well, but Tamiya, they've always gone together well. They have some really nice older kits that are still readily available, and the cost is pretty low on them. So those are good kits to start with. One of the ones I usually recommend is the old Panzer Kampfwagen Mark II, Panzer II, whatever you want to call it, Ausf FG, which is kind of incorrect, but you've all seen it. It's the one that usually has the desert scheme on it. Sometimes comes with some Africa Corps figures, but you know, it can still be found all over the place and for cheap. So with that, there are now alternatives, this being one of them, and here's why. Very nicely detailed kit, low parts count, easily assembled, and here's the kicker. The retail price on this thing is $24.99 most places. I even saw it for $19.99 at another place. Now, I ordered this as a pre-order from Andy's Hobby headquarters. He had them for $24.99, shipped to my door in California from Arizona. It was $34.98. So that is like ultra cheap. I mean, really good bang for your buck. You get a really nice kit for a low price. And it's a modern kit. So, in addition to all those older kits that you can recommend because they're inexpensive, you can now recommend something like this if you have somebody that wants to get into armor building. So there you go. Bang for your buck. One of the best right here. Now, I'm sure there's going to be a plethora of reviews on this kit and builds in the near future. That's why I opted not to do a full-on build review of the kit. I had most of it done on video, and I thought, you know, it's an awful lot of time to blab about something that a whole lot of other people are going to do, and probably way better than me. So I figured I'd do it in this format, talk about the kit, what it comes with, and how it came together in the end. So there you go. That's my inbox and build review of the Das Werk Panther Ausf G late production Super Blitz kit by Takom. So I'd really like to hear if you like this type of review. If you like these kind of reviews, I may do more like this. Just talk about what comes in the box and then show you the final result with any notations as needed. Also, if you like this video and you haven't done so yet, and you want to keep up with my other projects or see some of my older ones, hit the subscribe button. Also, if you like this video, hit the like button. Supposedly it'll do something for the algorithm and it'll make it a little more easy to find. Not that that's a good thing, but hey, I can always hope. So that's it for this video. Thanks for following along on the Das Werk Panther Ausf G Super Blitz. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I will see you all later.